Welcome back to Door County Adventure Part 2.
Water, 3 cups of salt go into the water. Salt is the only seasoning you put into a fish boil, and that'll season everything. Fish, potatoes, and onions. You get your fire burning. Takes about a half an hour to get the water to start to boil. Once the water is boiling, you start your timer at 30 minutes. Each fish boil takes a half an hour. You drop the potatoes in the kettle first. They go in for the full 30 minutes. Onions go in second, depending on size. These are some small ones, so I put them in a little bit later. They look good to me. Last thing you put in the kettle is what I have right over here. These are the fish we use. They go in for 7 minutes. They're locally caught Lake Michigan whitefish. The fish are caught from the waters that surround the Door Peninsula, both lakeside and bayside, depending on the time of year. We actually buy our fish direct from a local fisherman right here in Door County. His name is Rick Johnson. He's a fisherman from Gills Rock, and he's been bringing us fresh whitefish for almost 40 years now. So just about every single morning, spring, summer, fall, rain or shine, him and his crew get into their boat. They go out to their whitefish nets. The nets get winched in. They take their fish back to their little processing facility in Gills Rock, and that's where they clean the whitefish. That means they head them, gut them, tail them, and scale them. And then just about every single day, between 3 and 4 o'clock, we get fresh whitefish delivered right to the back door of the restaurant, right from the guy who caught them. So there's a nice thing we have going on with the fishermen up here. He'll also cut your fish up for you if you'd like. He charge you a little bit more, or you can buy the fish whole and cut them up all yourself. We actually buy our fish whole, and then I hand cut them all with a razor sharp knife right before they go in the water. It's the best way to do a fish boil. If you buy them pre-cut or cut them up ahead of time, they instantly start to leak all their natural fluids and whatnot out. They start to dry out on you. So it's definitely a little bit more work for me, especially on nights like tonight where we did over 300 people. They cut up all the fish, but that's just the way we've always done it here. And they do come out cooked much better. They're a lot juicier, and you'll see when you go inside and eat them. So I just finished cutting up your fish. I'll walk around and show you what they look like. Your whitefish were caught yesterday morning out near Chambers Island in about 100 feet deep water. Whitefish schools sit really deep this time of the year because the lake's at its warmest temperature. The warmer the lake water is, the deeper the whitefish schools will go. So right now they're sitting about 100, 120 feet deep. So also too, this is only a third of the fish. There's 100 people here. You don't put all the fish in the kettle for 100 people. Reason being, we serve this like a buffet. You cook all the fish now, the people in the middle and the end of the buffet line will get up to the table and their fish have been sitting there for 15 to 20 minutes. So when you guys go in, I'll come out and cook 2 more of these, one right after the other. So even if you're the last person in line, don't worry about rushing in there. You're still gonna get fresh hot whitefish, so that's why you do it like that. So anyhow, I'll walk around real quick, show you what they look like. There they are. Fresh lake whitefish, caught yesterday by a local fisherman. Today by myself, the boil master. That is the real job title here in Door County. And on an average summer, I'll cut up and boil about 35,000 pounds of fish.
Wow.
So, summer for you. The boil master, you like that? There they go. Yeah, these were caught yesterday. I have fish that were caught this morning as well. They get put in the rotation for tomorrow. Look good? All right, in the kettle they go. These will cook for about 7 minutes. 6.5, 7 minutes, depending on how hot the fire. The fire's really hot right now, so it won't take much to cook them. Now, if you've never been to one of these before, obviously it's not your normal night out at a restaurant. It is a dining experience, to say the least. Door County is definitely home to the fish boil. We've been doing traditional fish boils here at the old post office since 1978. Now, it's our 40th year fish boil out back here. And we're actually one of the newer fish boil restaurants up here in Door County. You guys ready for some fire?
Whoa!
That'll get them boiling again really quick. Now the fish boil itself is an old Scandinavian tradition, and this was started off by the Swedish and Norwegian immigrants back in the 1800s up here in Door County. Door County itself, especially northern Door County, very rich in Scandinavian heritage. You see it all over up here. Even the word Ephraim means bountiful land in Norwegian. So we have rich Scandinavian heritage. Fish boils are part of our Scandinavian heritage up here. Most of the Swedes and Norwegians who came here, including my ancestors, they were homesteaders. They got free land by the U.S. government just to move up to this area to start establishing growth to the upper Great Lakes. Most of the men, well, some of the men came here and fished. The majority of the men who came here worked as loggers. The Door Peninsula itself is heavily forested. The water, the natural harbors that surround the Door Peninsula made ideal conditions for logging companies to send up huge steamships. The steamships could then load up on tons and tons of harvested logs, and they bring those logs back to growing cities like Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, all connected to Door County by water. Now, I don't think fish boils were really ever meant to be a tourist attraction like they are today. This would have been done by loggers and fishermen back in the 1800s up here in Door County. basically is an easy way to feed the hordes of immigrants that were starting to settle up here on the peninsula, most of them being from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. When they arrived here, this is a remote peninsula on Lake Michigan, and there was plenty of fish in the waters, including salmon and trout. That's what they used to use for fish boils. They actually used to call this a Norwegian trout boil. Nowadays, salmon and trout aren't commercially fished, so we use the lake whitefish. But if you had fresh fish, potatoes, onions, butter, salt in a big kettle like this, you can do fish boils. You can basically feed the whole fishing camp, the villages up here that started to dot the peninsula back in the 1800s. So that's how this all started off. Probably could have ended at that too, but it didn't. Because right around the turn of the century, people started to appreciate all the natural beauty up here in Door County. They quit logging the forests. They started designating lands for state parks, and they started to build and open the very first hotels and resorts up here for tourists, including the Edgewater Resort right behind you, opened in the year 1900, one of the first hotels to open here in the village of Ephraim. So right around the turn of the century, Door County started getting its very first tourists. Not like today where we get over 2 million tourists up here every summer, because if you came to Door County back in the early 1900s, you would have came up here on a steamship. The railroad ended at Sturgeon Bay. They didn't build highways or roads north of Sturgeon Bay until the early 20s, so they started bringing tourists up here from Chicago and Milwaukee during the summertime on steamships. That's how you got up here back in the old days, before there's even a road coming up here. And if you did come all the way up here from Chicago on a steamship back in the early 1900s, you didn't come up for a long weekend like most of you folks are doing this weekend. Most of the guests who came here back in the old days were very, very well off. They'd come up here and stay for a couple of weeks during the summer. Some would stay for a couple of months up here during the summertime. And when you did stay so long in hotels and resorts back in those old days, all your meals were cooked for you. They called it the American plan. Well, some of the hotels and resorts started to do this for their guests, a Scandinavian fish boil dinner, and that's how the tradition of the fish boil was started off here in Door County. We've basically been doing this the exact same way ever since. So you can see this tradition goes back well over a century. It's definitely one of Door County's oldest traditions, and you can date it all the way back to the very first European settlers up here. And it is kind of cool to think in this day and age, in this country, we still do this the traditional way. I mean, I just threw a can of kerosene on a fire in front of 100 people, and that's how you're supposed to do that. So it's definitely something you just can't really do in very many places. My grandfather did here over the last century, and that's why we still do it the same way. As of today, actually, there are 5 fish boil restaurants that still do this the same way up here in Door County during the summertime. A couple things that make ours a little better. The fish we get are caught by a local fisherman right here in Door County, delivered to me daily. They never come frozen, and they never come from Lake Superior, so we always get them fresh right from our own waters. We also put an onion in our fish boil, which some of the other ones don't include. So there's an onion in the kettle for every single one of you. You'll get the beautiful water view here as we overlook beautiful Eagle Harbor Peninsula State Park at Horseshoe Island. So enjoy the water view while you dine tonight. And keep in mind your fish came out of that water just yesterday morning, which is always nice to know when you dine on some local fish. Now one thing about the fish that throws people off at a fish boil, if you've never been to one of these, are the fish bones. They're whitefish steak. It's very rustic. I cut them all up. The bones are still in the fish. However, we're the only fish boil restaurant up here in Door County where the servers come to your table and debone your fish for you. So it's a really nice thing. Don't even try to do it on your own. They come by each table to table and debone the fish, and they know exactly how to do it. You'll probably butcher your fish up if you try to do it on your own. So that's a really nice thing. Tammy, she's the owner of the restaurant. She comes in every morning and bakes fresh Door County cherry pies that you're going to have for dessert. All the breads are made by her from scratch. All the coleslaw and everything is homemade by her in that kitchen, and she does a great job. You'll see her on the inside. Finally, you get about 10 minutes of fish boil history from me, because I do about 400 fish boils out here every summer. So there you have it. Now you know the story behind this. Last thing you do at a fish boil is the boil over. You're going to want to have your cameras ready for it. Basically, once the fish start to cook, they start to release oils. There's dirt from the potatoes, not to mention some ash from the fire raining down in the kettle over the last half an hour. So to rinse that layer of gunk off the top of the kettle, I throw a whole can of kerosene on the fire. You'll see what'll happen. I'll make a huge explosion. The kettle will boil over. All that gunk goes with it. And then after that, you guys head back in between the 2 buildings. You enter the restaurant through the front door. Whole thing served like a buffet. Grab a plate and enjoy. Save room for your cherry pie for dessert. Also, if you're new to Door County, grab one of my flyers. You've never been up here, these are a bunch of key attractions you should try to visit while you're here. Definitely try to visit Fred and Fuzzy's while you're here, at least for a cherry margarita. It's on one of the most beautiful hidden beaches in Door County, and it's just 5 minutes north of here. So grab one of those if you don't know what to do. And tomorrow's supposed to be a nice day, and if you've never been on the water here in Door County, the shoreline that surrounds the peninsula is some of the most spectacular scenery in the entire country. Definitely try to get out on a boat. Sister Bay is a brand new tour boat. It's an easy way to get out there, see islands, bluffs, and lighthouses, and it's only $40. Kids ride free, and they have a bar on board. It's a great way to get out on the water. Definitely try to do that. I also do have a tip kettle, folks. The tips are always appreciated. Thank you for that. Get your cameras out. I'm going to throw the kerosene bomb on. You guys can go inside. Does it sound good? All right. got a nice big one loaded up for you. And when it starts like this, you get the whole effect. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed all the fish flow talk. Enjoy your meal tonight, everyone. Ready?
Two, one, go. Table spice. Are you in good hands?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.